A woman mysteriously catches fire on a mountaintop. A young girl discovers her mother's body in the woods, surrounded by snakes. Years later, she poisons her village's water supply in revenge. Then, she makes a terrible choice with her own baby daughter. And what happens after that will shock you. This is Hagazussa, a Heathen's Curse from 2017, one of the darkest folk horror films ever made. Let's dive into this recap, and please like and subscribe. It would really help this new channel. We're in the Alps of 15th century Austria. A young girl named Albrun lives with her mother in a remote cottage, completely isolated from civilization. They herd goats together, surviving on the edge of the wilderness. The girl has never known her father. Her mother won't speak of him. And that mystery, it's only the beginning of their problems. One freezing night, something terrifying happens. Men wearing goat skins and horns appear outside their cottage. They bang violently on the door, screaming accusations. "Witches!" they shout. "You should be burned." The mother and daughter huddle inside, terrified, as the mob eventually retreats into the darkness. But this is just a warning of what's to come. Days later, the mother falls ill. She's burning with fever, her body weakening by the hour. A doctor and a nun make the long journey from the nearby town to examine her. What they find makes them step back in horror. The doctor's face goes pale as he examines her. There are bulbous growths beneath her armpit. He exchanges a glance with the nun. Without a word, they gather their things. "There's nothing we can do," the doctor says quietly. They leave young Albrun alone with her dying mother. And what happens next will change everything. The mother's condition deteriorates rapidly, but it's not just her body that's failing. Her mind is slipping away too. She becomes confused, violent, unpredictable. Young Albrun tries to care for her, but she's just a child facing something she can't possibly understand. Then one night, something unspeakable happens. Her mother's eyes are wild, unfocused. Albrun's face shows pure terror. What occurs in that cottage is a horrific violation. The trauma of this moment will echo through the rest of Albrun's life. Immediately after, the mother flees into the winter night. Running into the frozen woods in nothing but her night clothes, Albrun is left alone in the cottage, crying, confused, traumatized. The next morning, Albrun ventures into the woods to search. She finds her mother's body lying in the mud, completely covered in snakes. Young Albrun stares, unable to process what she's seeing. Is this natural? Or is it something darker? This is where the real curse begins. The film jumps forward 15 years. Albrun is now an adult woman, still living in that same isolated cottage where her mother died. She tends goats in the hills, just like her mother did. She's completely alone, except now she has an infant daughter of her own. The identity of the father is a mystery. History seems to be repeating itself. We watch Albrun milk the goats, speaking softly to them. She displays an unusual intimacy with these animals. It's clear that years of isolation have affected her in profound ways. These goats are her only companions, her only connection to living things besides her baby. Albrun loads up containers of goat milk and makes the long journey into town to sell them. This is where we see how the townspeople view her. And it's not good. The moment she arrives, children surround her. But they're not friendly. They call her names, throw things, treat her like she's diseased. Years of superstition have painted Albrun and her family as cursed, as witches. Just when the harassment becomes unbearable, a townswoman named Swinda appears. She shoos the children away and speaks to Albrun. Finally, someone's showing kindness. Or so it seems. But Swinda's expression holds something else. Something calculating. What are her real intentions? Days later, Swinda arrives at Albrun's cottage with a message. The village priest wants to speak with Albrun. This can't be good. In 15th century Austria, when the church summons you, it's rarely for pleasant reasons. Albrun has no choice but to go. The local church is unlike anything you'd expect. Its walls are lined with human skulls and bones, an ossuary where the dead are displayed. Albrun walks through this gallery of death to meet the priest. He speaks to her about faith, about her difficult life, about isolation. His words sound compassionate at first, but then his tone shifts. He tells her that her isolation leads to temptation, to sacrilege. To strengthen the faith of a religious community, he says slowly, it requires all sacrilege be cleansed. Then he hands her something that makes her breath catch. It's her mother's skull. but it's been polished, painted with flowers and greenery, turned into a macabre decoration for the church's collection. He's giving it back to her like it's a gift, some kind of warning. Albrun takes the skull and returns home, her hands trembling. What does she do with her mother's skull? She places it in a corner of her cottage, surrounding it with flowers and candles, creating a shrine. It's the only connection she has left to her mother, the only family she's ever known. When Swinda visits again and sees the skull shrine, her face twists with disgust. She leaves immediately without explanation. Albrun is alone again, and that's when the voices start. At night, Albrun hears whispers coming from the woods. One voice stands out above the others. It's her mother's voice, calling to her from beyond the grave. Is it grief, madness, or is something supernatural happening in these cursed mountains? The next morning, something troubling happens. She tries to breastfeed her infant daughter, but the baby refuses. Even her own child is rejecting her now. The isolation is becoming total. One day, Swinda suggests they take a walk together in the mountains. Albrun agrees, desperate for human companionship. But as they sit on the hillside, Swinda's words become increasingly unsettling. She starts talking about those who don't carry God in their hearts, such as the foreigners and the heathens. They come in the night, and like animals, they take you. And then, some months later, you bear a child. Is Swinda implying something about Albrun's baby? About Albrun herself? The warning bells are ringing, but Albrun doesn't run. Not yet. On the way down the mountain, Swinda speaks to a local man, convincing him to join them. While lying on a hillside, Swinda leans close and whispers to Albrun, "It's disgusting how you all smell your rotten stench." What happens next is a betrayal beyond comprehension. Swinda holds Albrun down while the man assaults her. The cruelty is calculated and devastating. This is not random violence. This is deliberate persecution. Albrun returns home in shock, her body and spirit broken. She discovers that her goats, her only companions, have all been stolen. All except one. And that one has been butchered, mutilated, left as another message of hatred. Everything she had is being taken from her. Something inside Albrun snaps. The rage that's been building for 15 years, maybe for her entire life, finally erupts. If the townspeople want to treat her like a witch, she'll give them a witch. She takes a deceased rat and carries it to the village's water source. She contaminates the water with the rat's body, then adds her own urine to the poison supply. The town will pay for what they've done to her. If they get sick, if they suffer, so be it. That night, back in her cottage, Albrun lights a candle. She kneels before her mother's skull. She's communing with the dead now, speaking to her mother's spirit, asking for guidance, or perhaps asking for revenge. The line between sanity and madness is disappearing completely. Days later, Albrun returns to town carrying her infant daughter. The scene that greets her is apocalyptic. Dead bodies are being loaded onto carts. The streets are filled with the deceased. Her contamination of the water worked. The plague has come to the town. And somewhere in Albrun's fractured mind, she feels satisfaction. They called her a witch. Maybe they were right. On her way home through the forest, Albrun stops. She bends down and picks a mushroom from the ground. Without hesitation, she eats it. This isn't food. This is something far more dangerous. Almost immediately, the world around her begins to shift. The trees seem to breathe. Shadows move with their own will. The mushroom is pulling her into a psychotic hallucination. And in this altered state, Albrun does something unthinkable. She walks into a stagnant pond, her baby still in her arms. She keeps walking deeper. Her daughter's face disappears below the murky surface. She sinks beneath the water herself, eyes open, staring up through the darkness. But she doesn't die. Not yet. Later, Albrun is back in her cottage. As she sleeps, a snake slithers over her body. She wakes but doesn't react to it. She's beyond fear now, beyond normal human responses. She hears her mother's voice again, calling her name. She rises and walks to the fireplace. What she discovers there makes her freeze. It's her baby's body. She brought it home with her from the pond. The sight of her drowned daughter lying there breaks something final inside her. Grief and horror wash over her face. She trembles, tears streaming down her cheeks. Then, in her mushroom-induced psychosis, she does something that defies comprehension. She places her daughter's body into the soup boiling on the fire. With shaking hands, she eats from it. Almost immediately, she vomits violently. The full weight of what she's done crashes into her consciousness. She screams, a sound of pure anguish that seems to shake the cottage itself. She sees her mother's face in the shadows. She hears laughter, mocking, cruel laughter. The walls seem to close in on her. She has to get out. She has to escape. Albrun flees into the early morning darkness, running up the mountain. She climbs higher and higher until she reaches the peak. Her eyes have turned completely opaque, clouded over like her mother's were. Completely broken by trauma, isolation, and madness, she lies down on the scenic peak. As the sun rises over the Austrian Alps, her body spontaneously combusts, consumed by flames as the new day begins. The cursed cycle has finally ended. So what is Hagazussa really about? On the surface, it's a folk horror film about witchcraft and superstition in medieval Austria. But dig deeper, and it's a devastating portrait of how isolation, trauma, and cruelty can destroy a person from the inside out. Albrun was never given a chance. From childhood, she was marked as different, as cursed. Her mother's mental illness and death, the townspeople's hatred, the assaults she suffered. Each trauma pushed her further from humanity, further into madness. The question the film asks is haunting. If everyone treats you like a monster, do you eventually become one? The film doesn't give us easy answers. We never know if the supernatural elements are real or all in Albrun's traumatized mind. Are the voices real? Does her mother's spirit actually speak to her? Or is it all the manifestation of a broken psyche trying to make sense of senseless cruelty? What makes Hagazussa so disturbing isn't the graphic content, though there's plenty of that. It's the slow, methodical way it shows a human being's complete psychological destruction. Director Lucas Feigelfeld creates an atmosphere of dread that seeps into your bones. Every frame feels heavy with doom. The film also serves as a dark meditation on how societies create the very monsters they fear. The townspeople's superstition and cruelty directly lead to Albrun's actions. They poisoned the well of her soul long before she poisoned their water. This is not an easy film to watch. But for fans of folk horror and atmospheric dread, Hagazussa is an unforgettable experience. Have you seen other folk horror films that capture this same level of atmospheric dread? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most disturbing folk horror films ever made, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more horror movie recaps and analysis. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next breakdown. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.